It is the middle of a moonless night in an open field so dark you could not see your own hand in front of your face, and a barn owl, drifting overhead in complete silence, is about to drop straight down onto a mouse it has never once seen. Not glimpsed in the starlight, never seen at all. It is finding that mouse and taking it entirely from the sound of a single footstep in the grass. And here is the strange part. When you are dropped into the dark, you grope. You wait for your eyes to adjust. You reach out with your hands. You hope for a little light. The barn owl needs none of it. From one faint rustle, it knows exactly where the mouse is standing. Not just the direction, but the distance and the height. A point fixed in 3 dimensions, and it falls on that point in total darkness and does not miss. I'm Ren, and the animal I want to sit with today is one whose face you have seen 100 times without ever understanding what it is for. The barn owl. That pale, flat, heart-shaped face is not decoration, and it is not really about seeing at all. It is an instrument for listening. So let me try carefully to take you inside a mind that hunts a world it cannot see. There's an old idea in biology I lean on in every one of these, from a man named Jakob von Uexküll. He called it the Umwelt, an animal self-world. Not the world as it truly is, but the thin slice of it that one particular body is built to sense. Yours is built mostly around your eyes. In daylight, you feel like you are meeting the whole world, complete and obvious. You aren't. You are meeting only the part of it that light hands you. And when the light goes, most of your world goes with it. The barn owl's world does not switch off at dusk. Its umwelt is built, first and most of all, out of sound, and it stays just as sharp in a darkness that will leave you helpless. So start with the ears, because they are not where you would guess, and they are not what you would guess. A barn owl's ear openings are hidden under the feathers of that flat face. And here is the first surprise. They are not level with each other. They are asymmetrical. One ear opening sits a little higher on the head, the other a little lower, and one is aimed slightly up while the other is aimed slightly down. If your own ears were built like this, one would be up near your temple and the other down by your jaw. On you, it would seem like a mistake. On the owl, it is the whole trick. And that heart-shaped face, that pale ring of stiff, tightly packed feathers, is not a face the way yours is. It is a dish. Each half of it works like a shallow curved reflector, a bit like a radar antenna or a cupped hand held behind your ear, gathering faint sound out of the dark and funneling it inward toward the ear on that side. The owl can even flex those feathers to focus its hearing. The face is not for looking. It is a pair of ears the size of the whole head. Now here is how the owl turns sound into a target. When a mouse rustles the grass off to the owl's left, the sound reaches the left ear a hair sooner than the right, and a touch louder, because the head itself is in the way of the far ear. Your brain does this too. It is how you tell whether a voice comes from your left or your right. But you only get one comparison, side to side. Sounds directly above and below you are genuinely hard to tell apart. The owl gets 2 comparisons, not one. Because one ear is higher and one is lower, a sound coming from above reaches the upper ear a fraction sooner and louder, and a sound from below reaches the lower ear first. So the difference between the ears side to side tells the owl the horizontal angle, the left and right of the mouse, and the difference up and down tells it the vertical angle, how high or low the mouse is. Put those 2 together and they cross at a single point in space. The owl is not hearing a direction. It is hearing a location, pinned in 3 dimensions, built from nothing but the tiny mismatch in how a rustle arrives at 2 cleverly misplaced ears. And I want to be clear about what this is not. It is not the bat's trick. A bat shouts into the dark and listens for its own echoes, making the sound it navigates by. The barn owl makes nothing. It sends out no call, no pulse, no signal at all. It simply listens in perfect silence to the sounds the world is already making and reads them so precisely that a single footstep is enough. It is pure, passive attention. The mouse never hears a thing coming until the owl is already on it. And that is the thing I cannot get past. Think about how you build your picture of where things are. You open your eyes and space is just given to you, near and far and up and down, all at once, in light. Take the light away, and that whole map collapses. You are left waving your arms in the dark. The barn owl builds a map every bit as detailed as your map of sight. A full three-dimensional space with a mouse pinned exactly in it out of sound alone, in a darkness where your map does not exist at all. It is not that the owl sees a little better in the dark than you do. It is that where you have nothing, the owl has a complete and precise world, drawn entirely in hearing. Researchers have tested this in rooms with no light whatsoever, not a single stray beam, and the owl still strikes the target dead on, guided only by the noise its prey makes. That is not a sharpened version of anything you have. It is a different way of holding a room in your mind. And I have to be honest about how we know this. We never climbed inside an owl. We built this whole picture from the outside, from patient work by researchers like Roger Payne, who in the early 1970s showed a barn owl striking prey in total darkness by sound alone, and Masakazu Konishi, who traced how the owl's brain takes those tiny differences between the ears and lays them out as an actual map of space inside the animal's head. We can measure the timing down to millionths of a second. We can draw the map, what it is like to be the owl, to hold a dark field in your mind as a landscape of sound and drop with certainty onto a point in it that stays on the far side of a wall we cannot cross. It is our best guess, and I want to mark it clearly as a guess. In 1974, a philosopher named Thomas Nagel wrote a famous essay with a haunting title, What Is It Like to Be a Bat? His point was this: you could learn every fact about a creature's senses, every organ, every signal, and still never know the one thing that matters most, what it feels like, from the inside, to be that creature. I can tell you the owl hears a mouse in 3 dimensions. I cannot hand you the feeling. We can map the senses. We can never quite feel the feeling. This is not a lesser mind fumbling toward ours. It is another mind, genuinely and unreachably other. But before you go, let me turn the whole thing around and point it back at you. Because without noticing, you have carried an assumption this entire time. That the dark is empty, that when the light goes there is simply nothing there to know. And here is a creature for whom the dark is as full and detailed as your brightest afternoon. A place laid out clearly in a sense you barely use, hearing every footstep as a point in space. There is no single, correct way to meet the world. There is no ladder with dull creatures at the bottom and us flattering ourselves near the top. There are only different instruments. Yours happen to point at light, and the moment the light fails, you call the world empty, when really it was only your one instrument going quiet, while the field around you stayed alive with the music you were never built to hear. So here is what I would love to know down in the comments. If you could trade your eyes, just for one night, for a barn owl's hearing, and stand in a black field knowing exactly where every small thing moved, would you do it? Or would a world that detailed in the dark be too much to carry? There is no right answer. I just want to hear yours. I read every one. If sitting quietly at the edge of another mind is your kind of strange, subscribe and stay close. There is a whole planet of them out there, thinking in ways we will never fully reach. And next time, we'll go and find another one. I'm Ren. Mind the quiet you can't hear.